Hey, what's up guys? So Eden Zero chapter 171 is here, and this chapter was kind of light on content. There's not really much to talk about, but it was actually a kind of interesting chapter. We got to see the entire Eden Zero crew finally with their brand new designs, although for the most part some of them don't actually really have that much of a change to them. But still, considering that we only got to see about a handful of the members in the last chapter, it's nice to see the entire crew all together in this chapter, getting to see the full timeskip designs, and we actually got a kind of a hint of what we might be going into in the next few chapters in this next upcoming arc, what we're going to be dealing with, what kind of planet we're going to be going to, and who might be involved in it. So let's just jump right into the chapter. Okay, so the beginning of the chapter actually goes along with the cover page, because the cover page for this chapter is actually an image of Rebecca's Beekeeper channel's loading screen, which we actually start the chapter off going off of one of her live streams, the one she mentioned at the end of the last chapter, or the last scene we got of her in the last chapter. And we really get to see exactly how popular Rebecca has become over the last 3 years, because we see that she has now over 3 million subscribers on her channel, which I don't think it was ever mentioned really how many subscribers she had originally, but I want to say it had to be less than 1,000 on the channel when we first were introduced to her, the fact that she's a beekeeper, you know, a YouTuber in this universe. But now that she's grown that much over the past 3 years, it just goes to show that she really took the advice that she got from CouchPo to heart, and she really made full use of it. Which, speaking of CouchPo, we end up finding out in this chapter, well, for one, we find out that she actually has over 5 million subscribers, so Rebecca's quickly catching up to her. But on top of that, we find out that she's still here on the Eden Zero crew, which, I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't happy to see her in this chapter. I mean, I don't hate CouchPo, but I feel like she has no purpose on the team, so I don't really want her to be a member of the team. So to find out she's been on the ship for the past 3 years, it doesn't really fit well with me. But after I thought about it for a second, I did kind of think, you know, alright, well, CouchPo is actually really smart. She's actually a very intelligent character. In fact, I think she has the highest intelligence out of the humans that we've been introduced to so far. At least it was from her character stat sheet that we got back when Hero was doing that for a few cover pages. So I'm thinking, because we got reminded in this chapter later on that one of the roles, you know, rest in peace Witch, but one of the roles she had on the ship was to perform maintenance on it and basically keep it up to check. So I'm thinking, considering how quickly CouchPo was able to figure out how to work Sister's machines in order to heal her and Hermit, maybe that's her role now on the ship. Maybe she's actually like the mechanic for the ship. Whenever it gets damaged or something needs to be repaired, she's probably now the one in charge of taking care of that. I mean, I would originally have thought that Hermit would take care of that role, but now that I'm thinking, it might be CouchPo's main purpose on being part of the ship, because if that's not the reason why she's there, then there's really no reason for Hero to still have her be a part of the crew. And you know what, speaking of the crew, we actually get to see the rest of the members. We get to see that Sister has a brand new design. Well, not really brand new design, she's just wearing a brand new outfit, showing off her shoulders a little bit. Nothing really much has changed about her in that aspect. And then when it came to the other members of the crew, it pretty much comes down to that Jin, Klein, and Laguna just have longer hair now. And speaking of Klein, she actually looks like Angel from Fairy Tail, so the Hero is pretty much just using her design for this brand new character. But yeah, for the most part, these 3 characters pretty much have the exact same look, just with longer and different hairstyles. Now, after we get reintroduced to the rest of the team that we didn't see in the last chapter, we cut over to a conversation between Shiki, Hermit, and Elsie, and we end up finding out that Elsie apparently is in the Kade Cosmos as well right now, and we find out that she's actually visiting her home planet, which, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I think this is actually a hint to where we're going to be spending the next arc. Because my hope is that by Elsie mentioning her home planet in this chapter, that at some point we're actually going to be visiting it. Now, from what we know from their backstory, the planet should just be like a barren wasteland. It should be like pretty much just in ruins, and there shouldn't really be anyone living there anymore. So I can't imagine what story significance it would have besides having a final confrontation between Justice and Elsie, or maybe the two of them have some kind of conversation where they're actually not fighting but being cordial with each other, at least water on the planet out of respect to the people that died there. But other than that, I can't really think of the reason why Shiki and the gang would have to go there, unless they're going there to back up Elsie because she's in danger. So yeah, now that I think about it a little bit more, maybe we actually won't be spending an entire arc there, but maybe during this next arc, whenever we cut in with Elsie, maybe we'll end up seeing her on that planet, and it could lead, like I said already, to a conversation or at least a meeting between her and Justice, because as we know from the last chapter, Justice is also in the Kade Cosmos. So it's really not unthinkable to think that maybe at some point we're actually going to visit the planet and the two of them will have some kind of conversation or second battle. Now, after that, we actually cut over to the bath, where we get to see most of the girls actually in the bath, and they're talking about the fact that Shiki's been promoted to the rank of a Raytheon States Galactica, which has some questioning. Does this mean that they think he's on the same power level as LZ or Ziggy? But they all quickly shoot down the idea that Shiki might be as strong as an OSG, because he's really not, as I mentioned in my last video. Even though we've seen that Shiki is a lot more powerful post the time skip, I still don't think he's on the same level as like LZ or Ziggy or any of the OSGs where you could take them on in a one-on-one fight. Now, the reason why they come up with as the reason why Shiki has been promoted to an OSG is because the government is labeling him as a threat out of just pure jealousy, or basically to save themselves the embarrassment because of the fact that Shiki's been beating them to the planets that they've been needing to save from Ziggy's control. Because I mean, seriously, think about it. What other reason besides jealousy and pettiness would the IUA have for labeling Shiki as a villain? I mean, as we found out in the last chapter, for the past 3 years, he's been going from what, 7 to 10 planets over the past 3 years, saving them from Ziggy's control. There's nothing villainous about that. He's been basically saving people and doing their job. And that's the reason why they're upset with him, is because he's doing their job and making them look bad. But you know what? I actually am kind of glad that the IUA is painting Shiki as being a villain, just because in future arcs, when we're actually having to have Shiki deal with them, it's going to lead to some interesting battles. Now, after that, we actually cut over to Shiki, and he's talking to Witch's helmet, basically talking to like the spirit of Witch. And before I even read the chapter, I saw a spoiler leak for this image online. After the chapter came out, someone had posted it and said that Shiki in the scene was starting to seem a little bit more darker and a little bit more edgier because of the fact that he's changing his kind of tone from, you know, we are going to do these things to I'm going to do these things. So I thought, oh, okay, are we going to be seeing a more darker, more serious, more grungy kind of Shiki, where he's going to be kind of pushing his friends to the side in order to accomplish his own goals? And we do kind of get a hint to that in the beginning of the chapter when we have him and Jin talking to each other, and Jin's questioning, all right, we've been doing this for 3 years, just going from planet to planet and basically just following Ziggy's trails. When are we going to stop and try to find a new way to find him? And we have Shiki kind of ignoring Jin in this part of the chapter by saying we had to continue doing this. But ultimately, in this scene, we actually get to see Shiki talking to Witch's helmet. I don't get that impression that the person online who posted the image kind of implied. I don't think that Shiki's in this moment kind of turned into a darker version of Shiki. I see the scene as basically Shiki making a personal promise to essentially who was his mother, saying that, hey, in honor of your memory, I'm going to make sure that we accomplish these goals. Basically, that's pretty much it. Now, that being said, again, with that scene earlier from Jin, it could be implying that maybe we might have a darker Shiki going forward, and then maybe we'll kind of go back to the happy-go-lucky Shiki we had prior to the time skip. But still, regardless of that, I don't think that this scene with him making his personal promise to Witch is an indication that Shiki's going a more darker route. Now, after the scene, we actually get the big scene for the chapter that I'm sure everyone's been talking about, and that is that basically we have Herman telling him that there's someone actually shooting out a distress signal to them who's adrift in space who actually could use some help. And Shiki immediately wants to bring the guy onto the ship because, you know, he could be someone who actually is in danger and needs help, even though Herman is suggesting that, you know, this could be a trap. Shiki doesn't care, he just wants to help out whoever he can, which, again, shows that Shiki isn't as dark as we might think he might be. But as soon as they bring the person on the ship, we end up finding out that it is Connor, the person who was previously the captain of their ship, and the last time we saw him, the captain of the Eden 1 Ziggy ship. And as soon as he's brought on board, Rebecca realizes that something's wrong because something drops into the bath and she's having a memory. I'll have to go back and check to maybe if this happened in the first chapter where Connor was introduced as being a member of the ship, but she has a quick sense of deja vu where she senses that something's happening, and she immediately runs from the bath over to where they're actually talking to Connor, and she tells everyone this is Connor, the captain of the Eden 1 and Ziggy's and the underling of Ziggy, which immediately goes over the heads of everyone else because of the fact that they seemingly don't remember the fact that they met Connor, which, alright, that makes sense. They didn't really meet Connor in this universe, but I'm pretty sure they did hear Connor's voice when the Eden 1 was revealed and Ziggy's new crew was revealed, so they should be aware of his voice or how that sounds. Now, again, 3 years have passed, so maybe they have forgotten what he sounded like because that's the only time they heard him. I can understand that. But on top of that, Rebecca did tell them about Connor, so the fact that they seemingly don't remember Connor or Rebecca ever mentioning him is starting to make me question what's going on in this situation. But I do agree with Shiki that this Connor, which I don't think is a trap, I actually think this is actually a different Connor from the one who's piloting Ziggy's crew, or Ziggy's ship, is actually a good way for them to actually gain a lead that they've been hoping to gain on Ziggy's location. Because we find out that this Connor basically used to work for Ziggy in his factory where he was making robots, but as soon as he found out what Ziggy was doing, he quit and ran away. And this actually, like I said, could lead him to basically going to the planet where Ziggy was actually producing those robots and possibly finding a new lead to him. But on top of that, I'm actually hoping that this actually could lead to this Connor joining the crew, because if you remember back to when Connor was introduced originally, he was able to basically navigate Eden Zero's ship through, I believe it was a minefield or something that even Witch couldn't actually control the ship through. So having him on board as the pilot and captain of the ship, well, not captain, but pilot of the ship, could actually lead to them being able to get to planets faster, navigate through situations where they usually wouldn't be able to get through. He could definitely be a very useful asset to the team. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him hopefully join the crew if this actually turns out to be a different Connor than the one that is currently working under Ziggy. But anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the chapter. Thanks for watching. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the chapter and everything I had to say about it. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.